Okay. So hopefully, Prem, you'd feel better with your neck pain and back pain. Hope you recover soon. Did anybody read? I know this is a question that I've been asking for classes altogether, but has anybody read? Read? Okay. Online, did any of you read? No?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry because I was stuck in the audit.
Okay. All right. Did anybody else read online, or were none of you able to read? Okay, I doubt if anybody has read online. Now, the ones in class, what did you read? What do you remember from what you read? Okay, if you've read, you don't have to look at your books. But if you've read something, even it's from the previous chapter, something that you just remember, what is it? What did you read about? Questioning skills, okay. Responding, how do we respond? Okay. Anybody else read anything? Okay, somebody had said solar. All right. Anybody read anything else? Did you go through what we did last class at least? Okay. Do you remember the name of the boy whose case we took? Okay. Dennis. Okay, all right. Now, do you remember what we did in the last class? What chapter did we complete in the last class? Okay, what is chapter 7 about? Responding skills and questioning skills, right? Personalization skills. Okay, so what do you think responding skills are? What do you do with responding skills? Okay.
Responding skills are that how we respond to the person who's sitting opposite to us.
Mm, right. So, like Raju had also mentioned, and Sriraj, responding skills are ways in which how you could respond to somebody who's sitting across from you in a counseling room. So, what are the different kinds of responding skills? Paraphrasing, okay. And what happens in paraphrasing? Brief summary. Okay, what else? What are the different kinds of skills? Okay, so what happens in reflecting of feelings? Okay, so basically you're looking at the emotions of the person, right? Very good. So reflection of feelings come with reflecting the emotions of the person. What about reflecting meaning? What is that about? That is for reflection of feelings. We're looking at reflecting of meaning. What do you think meaning is about? We try to interpret what they say and we try to understand whether we've understood what they meant by it correctly. Okay. And what is summative reflecting? Basically, just a summary, right? And after that, we were looking at the different kinds of questioning skills, right? And what are the two main types of questioning skills we have? Open-ended and close-ended questions, right? So I think based on your answers, I'm assuming that this chapter is clear, right? Okay, but before we go ahead, I would just run through a few. Yes, Prem?
Ma'am, when someone is telling something and we write points at the same time,
Mm.
right, in the counseling. So somewhere, somewhat like that also comes in the responding skills. Like towards the person that, okay, this guy is listening to us, he's taking some notes regarding this.
Okay, so when
If
it
we
comes
say,
to
if we see like if a person is mentally disturbed, and like he might feels like, okay, this person is listening to me, so that also comes in the responding skill or not?
Okay, so when it comes to specifically note taking, we will have to learn how to take notes at the same time look at them in the eye, right? Because sometimes we might be too focused on taking notes, we might lose the touch that comes with making eye contact and looking at them. Like, yes, they would understand that by you taking down notes, you're actually listening to what they're saying. But if we continuously just keep taking notes, we may feel that the other person is not listening, right? Like, for example, if we are constantly, it's not that great of an example, but if we are on our phones, right, when somebody's talking to us, you know that the person is listening, but then they're not able to make that human connect of looking at you in the eye. Right. So, yes, of course, it does make sense that when you're making notes, it does come as a form of responding, but then we can't just keep focusing on taking notes and not make that eye contact and keep that present moment focused over there. Does that
So,
make sense?
so there is a way to do that thing also.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's there. And that normally comes through practice where you would realize that you don't have to take notes of everything. You will take a note of just the key points and then learn how to follow up through that. But that comes with practice. It'll come.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So before we continue, don't forget we will be continuing with drills. All right. And with drills, I would really encourage you, rather than me calling you, you come forward, because you will not learn for real. You'll not learn otherwise. So if you solely, like, genuinely want to learn of how to do this, whenever drills are starting, just come forward. Okay. So before we fully close on questioning skills and we move on to the 8th chapter, there's just a few things that I would just like to run through. They're important things when it comes to questioning skills. You may not find them in your notes, but I think it's important for me to explain a few things to you. So I'll just get into that. So, like we discussed earlier in the previous class, we have open questions, right? And closed questions. So, what are open questions? What do you get out of them? It helps them speak more, correct? And what do you get from closed questions? Quick answers and facts, right? Okay. So we also have different other kinds of questioning skills, okay? So we also have something that is called as clarifying questions, right? In clarifying questions, they're not there on your notes. You'll not find them there. So clarifying questions are questions that when you are confused, right, and you're not sure of what the client is saying, or you're sensing that as they're talking, things are a little confusing, like they're jumping from one thing to another, right? Or you're trying to understand what do they mean when they express a certain feeling. For example, if I say I'm overwhelmed, my definition of feeling overwhelmed is very different from your definition of being overwhelmed, right? So in a clarifying question, you ask that person, okay, what does overwhelming mean to you, right? So maybe my overwhelming is I have too much to do, so much work that I can't finish. That's my overwhelm. But maybe your kind of overwhelm is there are too many emotions running through my head. That's overwhelm for them, right? So clarifying questions would help you understand what your client means by that, because sometimes what you think is the answer is not the same answer for them, right? So that's for clarifying questions. Next, we also have probing or deepening questions, which means you ask this question to understand a problem further. So maybe they have said that when they are sitting in traffic and they're running out of time, they get really stressed, right? And you want to understand what exactly does this stress make them feel. So your next question to them could be, what do you notice happening within you when that comes? So maybe they may say, I'm thinking of what if my boss fires me, or what if I don't finish my job and my tasks, right? So those are probing questions, like you know what is the reason, but you want to understand them a little further, okay? Everybody good? Same page? Okay. Next is we have feeling focused questions also. Right? So when you have feeling focused questions, it's very similar to reflecting of feelings and meaning. In feeling focused questions, you're trying to identify what are they feeling in that moment and what could be the potential cause for them feeling certain things, right? So sometimes clients may not know what feelings they may go through, right? They may just say that I am not feeling too good, right? So now that becomes your job to ask them, okay, what does not feeling too good mean like to you? So maybe they could say, I feel like my stomach is hurting, or like my palms start sweating, many things, right? But you're trying to identify the feeling, and feelings normally come with labeling emotion. So they might say that my stomach is starting to twist and my hands are sweating, but as a counselor, you know that those are bodily reactions, they're not your feelings, right? So then that's our job to guide them back as to, I understand that bodily this is what's happening to you, but what do you feel? Like, what are your emotions telling you about that time, right? Because sometimes maybe their emotions are telling them anger, but they might experience it as sadness, right? So feeling questions normally try to focus on what kind of feelings they're looking at. Next, of course, you have meaning focused. I don't think I'll have to explain that because it's very similar to reflecting of meaning. But then in this case, you're asking them, what does it mean to you, right? When you're going through these things, or what are the different things that could have a very similar reaction to how you're feeling? And next, this is something that helps us sometimes, and these are called scaling questions. So scaling questions are basically understanding it maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling today, right? With 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. How are you feeling today, right? And 5 being the midpoint. So if I ask that to somebody and they give me an answer below 5, I know that maybe their day is not starting too well. But if I ask you how you're feeling, maybe you give me like a 6.5. Like, okay, they're on the higher range and they might be doing well, right? And next is strength-based kind of questions. Now, these are questions when your client is stuck in a situation, right? They don't know how to get out, but you know that they are actually capable. So one thing of asking them is, have you gone through a situation like this before? High chance they would say, yes, something like this similar has happened. So, okay, what did you do? Right? And they will tell you the things that they've done. So the things that they have done to get through something becomes their strength, right? So strength-based questioning is really important, especially when your client is not feeling okay, right? Like they're feeling very hopeless, they're feeling very low. One of the key things that we do is help them identify their strengths to show them that you've done it before, you can do it again, right? You can, you have been, you just have to look at it a little differently now, but you can do it, right? So that's called strength-based questioning. And next, we also have hypothetical future-oriented questions, which help them identify different possibilities, right? Because sometimes if you just see things as, I either have to do this or this, they might not see that there is a middle ground, right? So when you're looking at hypothetical questioning, we basically ask them, okay, if things are to change, or if you could see this as something else, how would it look like? Or what would it be? So in that way, you're helping them identify that, okay, there are also multiple options. It's not just option A, option B. You have C, D, E, F, G also. Okay. And the last one is gentle, challenging questions, where we help them identify if you can notice that, okay, they're doing the same thing over and over again, but they're not changing, right? So you gently learn how to question them, which we will understand this a little more when we move on to the next chapter, because there are a few skills there which will supplement learning how to gently challenge your clients. So basically here you're asking them, okay, since you do not like this pattern that you're following, what do you think could be the problem, right? You're questioning them, but you're also challenging them as to, okay, why is it not right for you, or what are the different things that can change? Okay, so these are not there on your notes, but these are also important questioning skills to have. It will come with time as you're practicing, but it just helps if you've made a note of these and you remember. Okay, So any doubts about anything that I've spoken so far? No? Okay. Okay. So when you're looking at strength-based questioning, you are helping the person identify their strengths. Can I use the same example that I gave to help you understand that a little further? Okay. So if you come and tell me, I have an exam in 2 days and I need to finish studying, but I don't know how will I be able to manage. It's too much. I have maybe 10 chapters to finish in 2 days. I might not be able to do it. Right? So maybe a question that I can ask you, have you gone through a similar situation before where you had to finish things really quickly? Right? You could say, yes, I have, but it has nothing to do with exams. So I would ask you, okay, what did you do then to help you finish? Maybe you could be telling me, I was doing it for 3 hours in the morning. I took a break and then again I focused for another 4 hours in the evening, right? Which means you have, so by you telling me this, I know that you can sit and finish work for 3 to 4 hours straight. Right now, that's a strength that you have. So if I ask you then, okay, do you think you can apply that same method here and try to finish studying? Then you could say, okay, maybe I will try, right? But that is a strength that you didn't know you have because you are too overwhelmed by the fact that, okay, I have just 2 days to finish, right? So sometimes strength-based questioning can also come in the form of you feeling that you may not be able to do something. That's the main goal of strength-based questioning. When somebody feels like they can't do something, but you as the counselor, you know that they can do it, but you can't tell them, I know you can do it initially. Like they'll be like, okay, that's really hopeless. I don't think I can. So what you have to do is check the different skills that they have to help them get to where they're supposed to be. For example, even if somebody says that, okay, tomorrow I have a birthday party that I have to cook for. So I have to make 1 cake and 10 cupcakes, and I don't know how to finish it because I have to go shop for the ingredients and all of that. So ask them maybe, okay, have you gone through this before? That's basically the most basic questions that you can ask, right? And when they say yes, ask them, okay, what did you do to overcome this before? They could say, okay, maybe I called my friend to help, or I went and bought all of the ingredients first before I started cooking, and that made it better. So there we go. That's your strength. So how do you think you can apply those skills now in this situation? Got it? So basically, you pick on the skills that they have, help them apply it to a present situation. Okay. So then in that case comes the hypothetical questioning. So if you were able to do it, how do you think you can do it? So maybe if it's not them, if they have an example of like maybe if your friend was supposed to do this, how do you think they would accomplish? Right? Or maybe if you had more than 24 hours in a day, how would you actually finish this task? So then it gives them more options, right? Because if they can't find their strength, next comes in the hypothetical thing. Okay, suppose if you actually have more than 24 hours in a day, like for example, what do you think you could do to get it done? Right? So when we're looking at hypothetical based questioning, we're helping them identify options that they didn't know they had. Right? So in this case, what if they said that, okay, I've never done something like this before, I'm not sure how. So ask them, okay, if things were to change, if you were to change this scenario and see how you can change it, what could happen? They might say, I don't know for that as well, right? Then it becomes our job to ask them, okay, if you had somebody to help you, how would that look like? Right? Then they can say, oh, maybe I can send this person to go buy things and come. Right? At some point, they'll give you an answer. If they don't, just give them some time to also think. Right? It's okay to give them 2-3 minutes to think, because the main thing is they need to identify that they can do it. Right? If it comes like a worst case scenario where they think that they cannot do it whatsoever, give them options. Like, do you think that if you break up your time in a day, you have a schedule, would that help? Or do you think calling in somebody to help you, like do you have a sibling or your friend or co-workers to come and help you do finish your baking, would that help? Or would having somebody arrange the transport for you to get the cakes to the place help? Right? So usually it hardly comes to that place, because when you're giving them hypothetical situations, most of the times they'll think, no, it's the future. Like, okay, if things can be better, what would it be like? Right? So it's a very test trial kind of thing, but normally once you put in hypothetical questions, they might actually be able to give you the answer. Make sense? Actually, we'll try that on our drills. Actually, let's see. Okay, so are we clear with questions? Okay, so now we know that questions are really important. Yeah. Mm, mm, okay. Mm, mm. Okay, let's do that then. Take the microphone. We'll turn it into a drill. These are good questions, right? It's good that you're asking these questions. Let's do it into a drill. So we'll take the same example that you gave. So I'm your counselor here. Okay, so for the ones online, if you did not hear, the question was, since baking is a two-man job, it would be easier for them to have a hypothetical scenario. But if it comes to an exam, the person basically has to study by themselves. So how do they do it? So that's the question. So we're turning it into a drill where I become the counselor and Anusha is going to be the counselee here. Okay. All right. Just speak into the microphone. Okay. So, hi, Anusha. I
Hi.
see that you're having your exams in 2 days, and I can see that you're stressed about it. Can you tell me a little bit more as to why you're stressed?
I didn't study all these days, and now exams are approaching, and I'm feeling that I cannot do this in 2 days. I cannot study, nor I think that it's possible for me.
Okay. So, what is the subject that you have in 2 days?
Mathematics.
Mathematics. All right. So, how many chapters do you have?
Um, Actually, it's a test. We have 6 chapters.
6 chapters. Okay. And out of the 6 chapters, what are the chapters that make it easier for you to finish studying?
Mm.
Do you
Yeah,
have a few chapters that are
yeah.
easier than the others?
Not really. They are all case based, and some involves formula where I have to put in a more effort. So I think I'm finding it difficult, and I'm not that good at maths as well.
Okay, so it seems that remembering the formula is more important here, right? Okay. So how do you think would be the best way for you to remember these formulas?
So I think have to memorize it, and also solve some previous year question paper. And I don't think I have time to do it as well.
Okay. So based on the 2 days that you have, let's take it one day at a time. Okay. So if it's just in one day, how do you think you can divide the time that you have for one day to also learn some of the formulas and solve some of the papers? How do you think that could work?
Mm. Mm. I'll start with previous year question papers where I
Okay.
can see what are the most repeated questions,
Mm.
and also try to remember some formulas where it would help me to solve problems as well. So I think I would start with previous year question paper and also start memorizing formulas.
Okay. So do you think that would be the better way to approach this?
Yes.
That closes. Okay. So do you understand? So usually when a person, so you might think like from your perspective, the person will not get to an answer. But also remember that they're coming to you because they know that they have to get there, right? So eventually they'll also try. okay, what do I do now? Like everybody will come asking those questions, what do you do now, right? But then it becomes up to you to learn how to question. So the reason why I asked that, because the first thing that you said was formulas. So I'm like, okay, maybe in order for you to solve, you need to remember the formulas better. So that was what I was focusing on. But did that example make sense? The class, did it make sense? Yes? Yes, Prem?
Ma'am, the drill was good, but see, if I have exam and there are only 2 days left and I haven't studied, if I'll see two things. Like practically, I will see that okay, I can manage time and I can study. That I know. Inside of me, I know that okay, if I'll cut down the time, if I do this formula, if I study about this thing, particularly if I'll study last year exam question papers, I will do it. But emotionally, I'm scared,
Mm.
right? Even though I am studying, I had a talk with the counselor and everything. He was able to give me the answer also that what should I do.
Mm.
Okay, but emotionally I'm scared inside of me.
Right.
I have a full plan in
Mm.
front of me, but I'm blank. Still, I'm watching that plan that okay, I have to do this, I have to divide this much time, I have to complete this. But I'm blank. Still, I'm blank because emotionally I'm just drained out.
Right.
Because in my head, there is I'll say like my mind is telling me that it is impossible. Then how can we change that thing? Like that I
Right.
know it's a plan. There is a plan, but I don't know if I'm able to make it or not make it, and
Mm.
things like that. Because emotional when emotion comes, people don't see a plan or anything. They just blast out, right? So
Right.
that's the question I have now.
Okay. So if I take Anusha's case, when she was talking to me, I couldn't sense any fear. Right. So that's that. That's why the aspect of fear or anxiousness towards the exam was not addressed. But like in this case, if there is an aspect of anxiousness or fear, then that is something that we will have to deal with along with the practical applications of them learning how to study. Right. So if the person is anxious or afraid, we ask them why are they anxious and afraid, and what is the best way for them to calm down their anxiousness and fear. Right. But again, you will have to probe into that a little bit. So the reason why just now it went by really quickly, because you were just focusing on the practical aspect of it. So when a person is anxious or afraid, you ask them why are they anxious. Right. If they say that they do not have enough time, like, okay, why do you think you don't have enough time? And they may say, okay, I have too many things to do. So if they say that they have too many things to do, what would be the best way for them to break that task into smaller pieces so that they can also see it that they're able to complete? Now, this will differ from different people, right? And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to understand what does overcoming anxiousness to them mean, right? Maybe for them, it could be the fact that they finish 3 chapters before lunch at least, and that is something that will calm their anxiousness down. So okay, you have to finish 3 chapters before lunch. What is the best way for us to do that? Maybe they could say, okay, maybe I could wake up at 6, finish breakfast and taking a bath by 7, and then focus to sit and study. Right. That is their way of solving their anxiousness. Right. So there's no hard fast rule as to, okay, if you follow this method, this is how every person will be able to overcome. It doesn't really work like that. We will have to check in with them what will work best for them and help them implement that. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, like 2 days pass and he or she gave the exam. What if that person comes back and then the exam didn't go well, or things like that? That I did everything,
Mm.
I studied, that go through the plan and everything. And how can we like calm that person down if we'll say that? Like I wanted to know.
Okay. I hope that nobody is going through that based on.
No, no, no. Nobody is going through that.
All right. So
But
so if they
uh, I'm just asking because, like, in my family, there are children who are in school and going in colleges. So
Mm.
sometimes we talk about studies, how the studies are going, and they have some pressure on them. So I'm just learning that how can I connect with them, or connect with the people around me also, because in my church also there are many students who are in college and in school. So usually we connect with them, we
Right.
connect and talk. So the best way to approach them, so they will not feel that okay, this guy or whoever I am, he a new person will not feel that he's the same person asking me about the studies.
Mm,
They'll not feel like that, the burden, even if I'm asking them. So
right.
like that I'm trying to understand.
Okay. So if the person has gone through the exam and they did not do well, then the next question would be, okay, why did it not go well? Right? Something would have possibly gone wrong somewhere, right? Maybe they couldn't focus, or maybe because it was too last minute for them that they couldn't. Like, if you're taking the subject of math, basically in 2 days, unless you really focus, it would be a little difficult, especially if you're not that good at math, right? So if this case were to come up, we ask them, okay, why did it not go well, or what were your expectations out of it, right? And if they told that, okay, I expected it to go in a certain way, okay, if you want it to be in a certain way like this, how would you want to see it happening the next time, right? Because there's a high chance that maybe the person themselves did not put the amount of effort that they're supposed to put for a particular thing. And in order for us to get to that, we will see that in the next chapter when it comes to confrontation. Like, the confrontation is a skill where when you see the other person not doing what they said that they're supposed to do, but still making up excuses over and over again, confrontation is something that we have to do, but very gently, right? So that's one. Second, if this person requires more help, then maybe like practical help, like maybe tuitions or getting extra help from their teachers, that is something that we have to do. But if it's something that solely has to do with an emotional connection to the subject where that makes them really afraid that they can't do it, then that is something, as counselors, that is something that you would have to address.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody, any more questions? Okay. So, since we've been talking about questions a lot, and we know it's important to ask questions, when do you think we should not ask questions?
When we know the answer.
When we know the answer, okay, that's a good one. And
And I feel like on the things like when it's obvious, it's in front of you, people know already. So we should not ask questions to trigger that person. I feel like
okay, when you should not ask answers also? What do you think? It's not in your books.
uh, same, I guess.
1 second, Prem. There's somebody answering in class.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Mm. So the answer was when they're in a process of sharing something about their life, like don't interrupt them in between and ask them a question. Okay. Yes, Prem, you can continue.
The same thing, like if a person is getting triggered, or we are pointing out in their emotional area,
Mm.
we should avoid at that point, and maybe we should talk to that person in a different way. uh,
Okay.
and yeah,
All right. So all the answers that everybody had said is true. When we already know what's the answer, right? You can already sense the answer. Doesn't make sense to ask a question, right? Second is when they're in the middle of something, try not to interrupt them to ask a question. Tends to break their flow. And the third thing is when they're they've become very vulnerable, right? It does not make sense to ask a question and probe into that further. Maybe if you see that, okay, this is something that we need to understand a little more, next session, maybe not even today, right? And this is something that you will ultimately discuss with them, like, okay, this is something that I would want to discuss with you a little further the next time, so can we do that, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next chapter, and we're going to be looking at influencing skills. Right, let me just share my screen. All right. So the next skills that we would be looking at are influencing skills and strategies, right? So when we're looking at influencing skills, now these are the different skills that a counselor would tend to have to encourage the counselee to change, right? And sometimes the kind of influence that you may have to your clients, right, could facilitate the change that they want to be a little quicker and faster, or sometimes just you being present with them would also help them get to where they're supposed to be. Because remember, sometimes all they need is somebody to just listen. They already have what it takes to get to where they are. So the very fact that they're able to get your full attention and they're getting the answers themselves would help them change, right? Sometimes influencing skills, when we're looking through further, you would see that as a counselor, you'll help them see different perspectives of the same thing, right? They might see things as black and white, but you'll help them to see the rainbow in between also. It's not just gray. There's a whole colors of rainbow also in between, right? So in order to understand a little bit better, let's start looking at the different skills that come with influencing and the different strategies that we can use. So the first one is confrontation, right? So in a confrontation skill, this is you having an open, honest conversation with them if they've been continuing repeatedly to do things that are not good for them, even though they want to change. Right? Now, for example, if somebody wants to exercise to lose weight, right, but they say that in order for me to exercise to lose weight, I have to go to the gym, but I don't have any money, right? Is going to the gym the only form of exercise? No, right? But in everything that you're trying to do and show them, like, okay, they keep saying that, no, I have to go to the gym, I don't have money. So that makes it, they're narrowing down their focus a lot. They're seeing the only form of exercise is going to the gym, right? And then maybe by you talking, they're like, okay, maybe I can just go for a walk in the park, or maybe I can start picking up a sport or do something outside that does not involve money. They've said that they'll do it. But then every week they come to you, of course they'll have other problems, but they keep saying, oh, but I haven't been able to exercise because I don't have money to go to the gym. Now that does not make sense, right? There is a solution, but they're not willing to do it. So then a gentle confrontation would be, I know that we've spoken about not being able to go to the gym because of money, but it doesn't seem that you're also practicing the other things that you wanted to do. You said that you would prefer to go for a walk in the park instead. What happened? Why has that not been happening? Right? But also remember that when you're confronting, the tone of your voice has to be, if that's really important. Otherwise, if I ask the same question in a very judgy thing, like, it's not going to work, like it's not going to help them come. But as counselors, you would, if you've been talking to the person for a long time, right? Maybe they come to you for 3-4 sessions or even more than that, you will start identifying patterns, right? Like they do the same thing over and over again, or they keep talking to this person over and over again, even when it's not good for them. And they themselves know it's not good. So why are they not changing, right? So when it comes to that, confronting is a skill that we normally use when we try to make them see that, listen, this is not working out for you. You also know it, but why are you not changing, right? That's one of the main goals when it comes to confronting skills, right? Now, when you're looking at focusing, when you're helping them focus, you're helping them look at another aspect to help them see that there is another perspective to it, right? So for example, somebody comes and tells you that if I have to get up every day, not every day, I have to get up 6 a.m. on a Sunday when it's supposed to be my rest day to get ready to go to church, and I'm not getting enough sleep, right? But then they also tell you that When they go to church, it makes them feel really nice because then they're meeting everybody, they're in a space of fellowship and worship, but they're not able to focus on that because every time they talk to you, the first bit comes first. That I have to wake up at 6 every morning, I'm not getting enough sleep, right? So as a counselor, what can you do is also help them to focus on that side. Like, I understand that it's difficult for you to get up at 6 every day in the morning. So maybe after you address that, okay, since you have to wake up at 6, what could be done and to make sure that you get more sleep? Maybe they'll say, okay, maybe I'll sleep by like 10:30 to get enough sleep. And then we also shift focus at, but you also have a really good time at church. Now, is that an experience that you would like to continue and like to have? And then they'll say, yeah, that's actually a really good thing. It's something that I would want to continue and do. Okay, so if that's an experience that you want to have, how can you make sure you get that getting good sleep? Right? So they may say, okay, either I'll wake up early in the morning or get more sleep, or maybe after church I'll come back home and sleep. Something will come up, right? But basically you help them focusing on another perspective that is also there, right? Next is you also have interpretation and reframing, right? To perceive their experiences in something that is more positive. And we can use that example that's already there in your books. So a counselee who's upset about having to move away from home, to lose the support of a family and everybody else, where you could also help them see that, once they go out, they'll have new experiences as well. They'll be meeting new people, and what are they looking forward to, right? Suppose if they come to you and they say that, I'll have to leave next week, I don't know what I will do without my mom, and my father has always been there to help me in doing so many things, and my best friends also live here, I don't know what I'll do there, right? So maybe you can ask them, okay, it must be tough that you actually have to leave everything behind, but what made you choose there to go there in the first place? What are you looking forward to? Then they may say, the job is really nice, I'm excited to learn new things. Okay, that's great. Where would you be staying? Then they could say, oh, maybe I'm living next to a park, and maybe I could go there and see. Okay, what are the different things that you're also looking forward to? Because you already know that they're looking forward to their job, they're looking forward to going to the park that they're staying in. Okay, what are the different things that you will want to look at? So you're also focusing that, yes, things are not okay. You're feeling sad and bad about it, but also don't forget that these are the different things that you're looking at. So it doesn't mean that you're neglecting the bad part of it. You also know that, okay, she's sad and she has to move. She's leaving everybody behind, but don't forget all these positive experiences that are also going to come. Right? Next is logical consequences. Logical consequences will help a client see the different possible outcomes that can come. Right? So if we take the same example, a logical consequence for this person who's traveling outside, the first thing would be a new job experience. Right? She'll be meeting new people, learning new skills, moving to a new city altogether. Right? So when you're moving to a new city, what are the things that you look for? When all of you moved to Bangalore for the first time, what did you look for? A
Now, when
house.
I moved to Bangalore, the first was looking for a church which
Looking
will
for
be
a church.
so I can be very close. I can find a house nearby.
Okay, so you're looking for a church, right? You're looking for a house, and these are all fun things. Even though as an adult it becomes very tiring, you have to look around everywhere. But it's a positive thing, right? Like you're looking for a church. Like, okay, maybe in this church I'll meet new people. Maybe the pastors are really nice. Maybe I'll have a community. Positive outlook, right? What else? When you're looking forward to going to a new place, what else would you look for? Now you found your house, you found your church. What else would you explore in a new city?
A good place to eat and supermarket.
A good place to eat in a supermarket. I was waiting for somebody to say food. Okay, what else would you look for?
Community
Proper
friends.
place for shopping.
A proper place for shopping, especially if you can bargain, that's great, right? And what else? You would also want to explore, like, what are the different things I can do here? Can I?
Different varieties of food like Shivaji Nagar, then Kamanali and other places.
Yeah. So there's so many different things that can come from a person moving somewhere, right? So in logical consequences, you're helping them see that, okay, this is also a possibility that can happen. Focus on these things also, right? But of course, if they're moving, you'll have to journey with them for a while, feeling that void that they've left their family behind, which I'm sure most of us understand how that feels like, especially if you've moved, right? So that is something that you help them with. Next is self-disclosure. Do you know what self-disclosure is? So self-disclosure is being able to disclose certain information about yourself to a client, but you know that your story will actually help to motivate them. For example, do you remember the last class when Raju and Vanilla were here doing that thing? His self-disclosure was that this was what I did to help myself. Right? Now, if that motivated her to do it the same way, that's a good form of self-disclosure. Right? But if your self-disclosure would make the other person look bad, like, you can't do it, I did it. Don't do it. Right? But most of the times when you're motivating somebody to do something, you're genuinely telling them, like, okay, I've gone through this before. I know it can be tough, but I genuinely understand how you feel. But I also know that you'll be able to get through it because it was very similar for me, and these are the things that I did. But knowing how you are, you'll be able to get through it also. So they're encouraged that, okay, somebody else has gone through that, they've come out of it, I can also do it. Right? So self-disclosure mostly works with helping them to motivate to overcome anything that they're going through, like whatever they're going through, right? Now, let's look at identifying patterns and themes first before we go to feedback. So in identifying patterns and themes, this is when you bring out if they've done something or like you're identifying something wrong. So for example, this if the slightest thing that goes wrong, maybe they are caught in traffic unexpectedly or many things happen, the first thing that they think about is they'll start overthinking immediately, right? The moment something happens, the first response is overthinking. And maybe you'll start noticing that in 3 to 4 sessions, right? So then that is when you bring it up. Like, I noticed that there's a pattern that whenever something like this happens, you overthink first. So what could we do to change that? Right? So in identifying patterns and themes, this is really important as a counselor because sometimes for most of us, it becomes a habit, right? We keep doing the same things over and over again. So it becomes a pattern. So us identifying that pattern will help the counselee change that. Okay. Next is providing information and broad suggestion, which means basically giving them different options that they can look at in order to move further. And next, we have feedback. So when we're looking at feedback, it is very precise information that you give back to your client in order for them to use it as a frame of reference to improve, right? But I will need to explain this to you a little bit better, but looking at the time, the first class is going to close soon, but we will pick up from feedback before we meet in the next class. And we will also be looking at drills in the next class, a few exercises that we'll go through. But before we close for today, are you clear with everything else that we've done? I think by far this is the one class that the most questions came, which is good. And this is something that you should come up with more. But anybody else has any questions? Are we clear on what we've done so far? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So before we start in the next class, like I know you have a short break in between, but just remember the different skills that we'll be using, right? One of the main things is solar, right? Remember what solar is. Remember a few things on questioning. Remember a few things on reflecting skills. Because once we start the drills, I would genuinely want you to practice these and make mistakes, right? Make those mistakes now. Don't make those mistakes when you're sitting with somebody inside the room, right? It's best to make those mistakes now. So we will stop here for today, for this class. Not for today. And I will see you again in the next hour. All right? Okay. Thank you.